Hi there, this is Derek from Pacific Coast Auto in Japan. And this is a 1985 HR30 Nissan Skyline. And so this is a 4-door, rear-wheel drive, inline 6-cylinder, fuel injected. 1985, fuel injected was a new thing. Nissan Skyline. Very cool. So people call this the R30. A lot of people know about the R32, 33, 34. This is 2 generations before the 32. I have to say, I absolutely love it. And although it has an automatic transmission and only a 2-liter engine, it's still so cool. And 57,000 kilometers, it's in fantastic condition. Usually something this old is going to be filled with rust and very poor condition interior, but this one has a near perfect interior, and if only interiors for Nissans were as cool as they were back then. Okay, so I'm going to go over the auction inspection sheet here. This one was bought from auction for exports to Florida in the USA. The L20 engine is kind of like the 240Z engine. It's the same base. That one got the L24 engine in Japan, and then the L28 engine was the 280Z engine. So this is kind of the same thing, just 2 liters instead. It's kind of funny to think of an inline 6-cylinder that's only 2 liters, because most people think about a 4-cylinder for 2-liter displacement. And yeah, in Japan the taxes made it advantageous to have a 6-cylinder with 2 liters, because if you're over 2 liters then you paid more in taxes, but 6-cylinder is kind of like upmarket, smoother, would help you sell the car. Our car has a inline 6 in it. It's so much better than everyone else. Check this out. The throttle linkage is the length of the engine, even though it's a single throttle body here. It looks a lot like the multi-throttle body linkage for like the GTR engines. And no rust in here, which is weird. It's hard to find like a 1999, 15 years after this, Skyline without any rust in the engine room. Now, a lot of people know about the DR30, which is kind of like the GTR of this generation. Those ones are really expensive and often in bad condition. This one's cool. It can be a cruiser. Has lots of cool things like the period wheels, which are Volk Racing, and the very period and excellent condition interior. I'm going to come back to the interior in just a sec, but first off, I'm going to shut the engine off because I don't need that to be running. And all the trim, all this chrome around here, all in fantastic condition. And check this out. Nissan. Why did they need to do that? They didn't need to. They just had tons and tons of extra cash during this time, and so they can make the best car. I guess people like this stuff, that kind of stuff. Okay, I'm going to quickly go ahead and translate this auction inspection sheet. And so it's a 1985 Skyline GTEL 2000cc engine, auction rate 3.5 with an interior B. Interior B for this old of a car, very rare. 57,727 original kilometers. It says here 2 owners, but they cross that out because you're not allowed to say that on the auction sheet. Purchased from user, has full history from 1988 until 2019. And so every 2 years your car has to go through inspections. It has every one of those slips plus other slips too. Volk Racing wheels. They're 14-inch wheels. These are fantastic. Gotta see these. Now, they need to be restored, but I love that. And the fact that they're only 14s with all that fender gap on the original suspension, that's something special. Very special. Okay, what else do we have here? Because of the spare key and owner's manual. Now the report here says interior is slightly dirty. It really only needs a vacuum. Steering wheel wear, and it's barely worn for the edge of the steering wheel. Wheels scratched. Exterior paint fade. Yeah, this is one of the bad things about the car. Paint fade on the 2 front fenders, the hood and the roof a bit. Various scratches and dents. And then if you look at the diagram, there are a few U2 dents. The body is not perfect, but nothing is too bad, and there's no rust anywhere on the car, in the trunk, on the underside, or on the body anywhere. Door jambs. It's crazy. Super crazy, because Nissans tend to rust, but not this one. Most certainly it was stored like indoors for basically all of its life. The car comes with a whole bunch of smokes in the ashtray. I can imagine that the previous owner, what he would do is take it out maybe once or twice a month, smoke a cigarette in it while driving the Isuzu Skyline in his Skyline. Round tail lights, there's water in the right one. Well, they're square tail lights, but they light up with the round circles. Very Skyline look. Pretty notchy notchback and a flat and long hood to fit that inline 6-cylinder. It's a style you don't get to see anymore. And this was at the beginning of the straight angular styling that we saw a lot of in the 80s. And oh, it's just so nice. There's one called the Tekkamen, which is like Iron Mask, and for the R30, they got like narrow headlights. These are the larger of the headlights. It has a bumper with cowl under here, has some dents in that signal lights there, and then the larger headlights. There's some fade on the grille here, fade on the hood. I don't know how much you'll be able to see the fade on the hood in the video, but it is there. Windshield has these weird little lines through it. A lot of 80s cars in Japan have those. I think it's just like a delamination of the glass. Happens a lot on 86s. Look at that antenna on the roof. So cool. And this body line here, see how it comes here to a point that's away from the chrome of the back window surround, is very much like a Mercedes-Benz E500. And so I'm going to pretend like Nissan stole it from Mercedes instead of the other way around. A, B, and C pillar. The old Laurels from this generation were awesome because they had a floating B pillar. So this one actually has a B pillar. The Laurel had nothing here. So if you roll down the windows, you actually had a full hard body style opening here. Okay, so we have this is what they called an 8A3, so there's a scratch down here. This piece here is broken. On the other side, there's a U3. And so that's a big dent on this door and the door in front of it. Rear end here has no rust underneath here. And look at this original exhaust too, with a muffler here and then the tailpipe that comes along here to the other side. Very unique and cool. Okay. Ouch. And ouch. So I took it for a drive. The suspension struts and shocks are blown. Those need to be replaced. Otherwise it drives fine. The transmission's a little bit weird because it's an old transmission. There's some color fade on the crank style windows. I grew up with crank style windows. I never had a car with power windows until basically I moved to Japan, just because I had old cars. But it's weird. I guess most people nowadays don't have experience with crank style windows. A lot of cars would have crank windows in Canada and the States, and then in Japan they'd have power windows. Like the 8.6 is one of those kind of cars. But not this Skyline. I think that you could get power windows in the HR30. Okay, so steering wheel. For a car like this, you really have to take a look at interior pieces and see which ones are like salvageable. It's easy to fix the body on a car, but not easy to fix the interior or get new pieces. Love the gauges. Look up Sega Master System on Google Images, like box art. This reminds me very much of the 80s. Oil pressure, temperature, fuel, and voltage. This works. And this is awesome. Everything on here feels good. It feels like a high-end stereo from back in the 80s. Like, in the 80s, in Japan, they were way ahead of everyone else in terms of their technology of things like this, electronics and whatnot. This feels good. These pieces are missing. Dashboard doesn't have any cracks or warpage in it. These are the original floor mats. It says Skyline on it. Not even very much wear on the floor mats. And then these seats are so soft. There are really no seats like this. I don't know how it stays that soft this long. It's not even saggy. Wow. And the red and black and silver. Oh. Headliner's good. I'm gonna pop the trunk. You can see it needs a vacuum. Go into the back seat here. And the back seats, I don't know how they do this, but they're even better. Because I don't think anyone's ever sat in the back. Look at these seat belts all tucked away. No center seat belt though. And no, they're only lap belts in the back. Has original floor mats in here, rubber, with the Skyline mark on it. And a view of the front with the big steering wheel and boxy cluster box here. It's cool. Okay. And door cards also to match. Very nice. The trunk is pretty huge. Get a lot of stuff in there. And then spare tires off to the side. Now I can't see under the spare tire to see if there's any rust down in there. But if you look underneath this mat, I don't want to pull it out with one hand. Everything's good underneath there. No rust. No problems. There's a little rip over there. And yeah, spare tire on the side is very neat. A lot of like 80s Japanese cars have that. And look at this screwed in piece for the windshield or the back window garnish. Whew. I had a 1978 Celica. Loved that car so much. This reminds me a lot of it. Like the chrome around the windows, the way it feels when you drive it. Makes me want to go back. But you can't go back. Okay, so that's the end of the report on this one. Hope you enjoyed a little bit of 1980s, mid-1980s history. So there you go. If you have any questions, please let me know. But otherwise, thanks so much for watching, and have a nice day.